Hey, what's up guys? I'm doing another loadout video for Nature DPS. This time it's gonna be an ad loadout. Last time was more of a boss killer loadout. So let's get into it. I'm firstly gonna show you my way of that I mod. I'm using straight might in my yellow socket for my shoulders and also in the chest. Basically because I do not need the precision that the socket affinity bonus gives. I'm doing this with 16,534 might, by the way. Alright, so to get into the loadout, in human form I'm still using the same thing as my last video. I'm using Vine Lash, Serpent Call, Briar, Harvest, Carnivore's Plant and Gorilla form. In Gorilla form I'm using Serpent Call, Voracious Plants, Impaling Thorns, Harvest, Roar, and Carnivore's Plants, which you can also change out for Return to Normal. But for this loadout, it's better if you just go with the Carnivore's Plants in it, except for when you need to go to your human form, which Return to Normal will be better. But for this video I'll be putting in Carnivore's Plants. Okay, so the way this loadout works is if you go and see what Serpent Call does, it releases poison, inflicting enemies with damage over time and making them vulnerable to poison effects. If you look what Roar does, it says poison is consumed and enemies take the remaining damage at once. But for some reason there's a thing going on between Serpent Call and Harvest, which if you refresh Serpent Call with Harvest, you can basically do Roar all the time until the dot runs out. So I'll show you now what I mean. Okay, so I use Serpent Call and I use Roar, and as you can see it does the big burst thing and the dot is consumed. If I do Serpent Call and I refresh it with Harvest and I do Roar, it does the same burst, but the dots keep ticking. So if I use Roar again, I get another burst and another one until the dots are done, obviously, and if I use it then it's just a normal damage from Roar. Alright, so this will be my rotation, which I use above 35% adds. When they get below 35%, I'll use Impaling Thorns and I switch it up a little bit, but I'll show you. So I start off with Serpent Call, Harvest and Roar, and then I use the Voracious Plants 2 times, back into Roar, back into Voracious Plants and Roar again. And then I refresh it with Harvest before it runs out, and I use Roar. And I keep repeating that. So it's 2 times Voracious Plants, Roar, Harvest, Roar, basically. Alright, so for below 35% adds, I'm basically doing the same thing, but I'm leaving out one rotation of Voracious Plants and I swap it up with the Impaling Thorns. So I put up my Serpent Call, Harvest and Roar, and I do the usual thing which I just explained, but then I'll use Impaling Thorns instead of the Voracious Plants. And I just keep repeating that basically. So Voracious Plants, Roar, Impaling Thorns, Roar, and Harvest, Roar. That's basically the whole rotation for below 35%. I'm just gonna quickly show what I do for when I want to use my supercharge, which will be Carnivore's Plants. And so I'll start off with Serpent Call again, with Harvest and Roar. And then I use Carnivore's Plants, and I don't need to refresh it, because Carnivore's Plants already refreshes its dot. So I just continue with the Roar and continue with the normal loadout after that. And yeah, that's basically my whole rotation. For the rest, I've also recorded a quick JFA run with my league, just so you can see the damage, like inside of the raids. For the bosses, I used my other loadout, and it might be a little bit off from the loadout that I've shown here, because when I recorded it, I was still kind of messing around with it. So for the ads, kind of ignore the loadout that I'm using there, because it's not as optimized as the one that I'm using for now. So I'm gonna show you this run that I recorded, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Make the ground shake.
This is the time to feel the rhythm.